Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Beyond the Barracks. Today we have an awesome guest, Navid Attayan. He has one of the most incredible stories I've ever heard. He immigrated into the US as a refugee from Iran and has served in the military, got out, and has now built an empire of a real estate business. He is flipping homes, he's investing in rentals, he has done it all, and it's an incredible story. So, without further ado, we'll get right into it. But I hope you guys really enjoy this one. Welcome, Navid, to Beyond the Barracks podcast. Happy to have you here, man.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so, I've known you for a bit here and been following you along through your real estate investment journey. And, dude, you've been building a fucking empire. So, I'm super excited to dive into more detail about all you've been through, all you've been doing it. But talking to you, I know you started, your journey started well before the military. So, we got plenty of time, but I said we just dive right into it, man.
Yeah, let's do it. So you guys want to hear the backstory of my life and how I ended up here?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So I was actually a refugee. I came here in 1997. I was 6 years old when I came to the U.S. I'm originally from Iran. I'm Persian. Back then, the Islamic Revolution happened in the 1970s, long before I was born. But my family was affected. Because my people and my family are not Muslim in an Islamic Republic of Iran since that revolution happened, our people got persecuted pretty heavily for religious persecution specifically. We weren't allowed to go to school. There was no opportunity for work. There's a bunch of harassment from the government and from your local neighbors. So we're talking about they tried to burn down our house. They tried to harass my dad left and right. They would slash tires. They just make our life a living hell. And oftentimes it will lead to imprisonment and all kinds of stuff. Pretty nasty stuff. And then
Was that on
what's that?
how often was stuff like that happening? And that was from the government over there?
Yeah, it's pretty frequent. I mean, it started kicking up right after the revolution when the Shah pretty much got removed, and it's the Islamic clerics, they call the Ayatollahs. They came and take over, and they promised to people all these things, and if you weren't one of them, you weren't really welcomed in the country. So that's the kind of dynamic we were dealing with. And I'm the last of 4 children, family of 6. But long story short, we fled the country illegally through, believe it or not, human traffickers with whatever money we had left at the time. And we made it to Pakistan. And we were in that, hellhole of a country as refugees for about 3 years until the United Nations, the UN, took our case as a refugee to seek asylum in the United States. But we didn't really know where we were going to end up. But in 1997, America picked up the tab and brought my family here. Cold as shit February. Family of 6 with probably 2 or 3 suitcases and less than $1,000 in our pockets. And
Fuck.
we kind of just embraced the American dream and did the whole college thing, joined the Army, felt like I had to go pay a debt. And then, now here I am running Origins Inc., a real estate company that's primarily flipping homes, rental properties, Airbnbs, and now a licensed contracting company, dumpster company, you name it. So wherever you guys want to branch out, lead the way.
Yeah. So let me ask you, man, when you decided to join the military, it was you said post college. What was your family's kind of thought process on that? Were they shocked or were they understanding?
My dad, my whole family, and they just wanted to disown me right there and then. Because my dad was like, how the hell do I make sense of doing all of this, going through all of this, journey and struggle to bring you here just for you to want to go back there? It's something he really struggled with. And, obviously parents are scared for their kids,
Right.
Going to war. The war was still active back then. All these things were going on. ISIS was kicking up. I think, Charlie, you and I joined around the same time.
Yeah. I think you went. Well, I was around 2015, mid 2015 was when I got in.
Yeah, I came in a little bit before you in 2014. It was prime ISIS time, so that was kind of in the news. My parents were freaking out, and they just urged me not to go. But something in me was like, this is something I want to do. And I've been an adrenaline junkie my whole life, so there's that too. But as I see the whole ISIS thing going on in the news, nasty shit, it kind of gave me this essence of I'm one lucky son of a bitch to be here. Not everyone gets the opportunity to escape their
Right.
geography. It's not an easy thing to do. And yet here I am, and I feel like I need to go do something. And there's a lot of that generational anger that kind of built up inside me. And
Right.
ultimately, that's why I joined.
What so what was that like? You want to walk us through like why you chose the Army, what job you chose and kind of like that process for you?
Yeah, so I was a college graduate. I was pretty dumb at the time. I didn't go to OCS out of basic because I wasn't guaranteed the job that I wanted. And at the time, I wanted to do an option 40, wanted to be all I could be, and definitely wanted to secure my airborne contract. And one of the only ways I can do that is to go in through the enlisted channels. I figured I could get the experience there, and then eventually, if I wanted to go green the gold, I can go to OCS later. But there's a lot of unknown. You go through the whole recruitment process. Luckily, I had a pretty good recruiter, but at the end of the day, a recruiter is a recruiter. And I came in as a 94 Fox, like no idea what the hell that was. But because I was so eager to join at the time, because once I make my mind on something, like it's game time. We got to go now. Like,
Right.
what do you mean I got to wait 6 months until a job I get, which might not even come up, for me to join? So my
Yeah.
recruiter,
Well, I think knowing that about you too, like knowing where you're at, I think that mindset of like knowing you and your mindset, I could see that killing you. So yeah.
I just bulldozed through. And right or wrong, I that was probably
Yeah.
one of my mistakes in hindsight. But he's like, if you really don't like your job, you can always put in a packet or something and, change your job down the road. And me
That's
not
the
knowing any
biggest.
better, I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, why not?
Yeah.
But so I came in as a 94 Fox, pretty much computer detections, repair radios and stuff in the motor pool. Complete miserable job. And I wanted nothing to do with it. So after the whole basic AIT, airborne school, I went to RASP for a little bit and ended up in my first unit at Fort Bragg. And once I ended up in the motor pool, I'm like, this is definitely not for me. No matter where I end up, this isn't it. And went through almost a little depression too the first year in the Army.
Yeah.
I just didn't fit in at all. I felt like the black sheep of the unit. And from there I put in a packet for civil affairs, went to selection, and then from there I loved my Army career.
Okay. What was that like being in civil affairs? I've actually never talked to anyone that was in civil affairs.
Yeah, we're kind of like little mystical unicorns.
Yeah.
So that's my unit right here, Fox 96, part of the 95th Civil Affairs Brigade is where I was. Or CENTCOM, obviously, because I'm brown, I look like the theater, and I speak the language frequently. Of course, they got sent to CENTCOM. But Civil Affairs was awesome. I went into selection not really knowing what it is, because when you first hear about civil affairs, what do you think of? Like, we're going to go help people and hand out, school supplies and stuff, right?
Yeah, like psyops or something. I don't even know.
They make it sound like it's so humanitarian affairs. Obviously, I can't go too deep into it on Greenside, but essentially, it's about access and placement. The idea is by providing supplies to a vulnerable population, we're garnering their support, and we're
Right.
establishing American ties in that region for us to wield our influence and gain access to the local population, interact, and that kind of thing. That's about as much as I can say on the green side.
That's fair. So transitioning out, what did that kind of look like for you getting out, and what year did you get out? And then I know I've heard your story. I've been to your meetup, your real estate meetups and stuff. So I've heard some of your stories, but, walk us through when did you get out? What did you do right when you get out, and what led you to start getting into real estate investing?
I think I got out around March of, I believe, 2021 is when I got out, was my official ETS date. And right before that, COVID time, of course. Right before that, I just got back from deployment in Yemen, and I didn't have much time to ETS. I had a messed up shoulder, trying to navigate life, kind of freaking out. I was like, what am I going to do on the outside now that my body's kind of broke? And I knew I didn't want to extend or continue simply because right before that time, I've already started getting a couple of rental properties and getting my feet wet in real estate. And I realized, well, to answer your question directly, what made me get out specifically is that I had a very successful flip, and I made about $40,000 within a 4-month period. And my salary wasn't that far off.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I made my entire annual salary in like 3 months' time. I was like, there's no way. And over here, I
So,
got to take shit from my superiors and all these other things and wear these uniforms that I'm not super comfortable in and be told what to do and where to be. No.
so what drew you to flipping houses? Like, did you have a background in construction? Like that's a very like time consuming and like all encompassing process. So what got you into flipping and kind of what was your, I guess your first step in that?
Yeah, so I had no idea what I want to do in real estate at all, to be honest with you. What got me into it, when I was in language school, actually, part of the civil affairs pipeline, there was another guy there that was talking to me about investments, and he mentioned something called the FIRE movement. Let me see what it stands for. Financial Independence, Retire Early.
Right.
And I kind of did a deep dive on there. And then through that process, I found this podcast called Bigger Pockets. I heard the story
Bigger
about this
Pockets.
husband and wife in Las Vegas. They were school teachers and how they did it and how they are essentially becoming retired, living off of like residual passive income through rental properties. I was like, okay, this sounds like up my alley. Like, screw this whole conventional shit of, working 40 hours a week plus, probably work more than that in the Army, until
Yeah.
we're 60 years old and our balls are gray to start enjoying life. And that's when I got really hungry for that retirement and early and getting my life back, getting my time back. And one of the only ways
Yeah.
I was able to do that or find a way to do it is through real estate. I actually didn't want to start flipping at the beginning. It was all about rental because the goal was early retirement, right? I wanted
Right.
to get residual income, passive income.
Yeah.
But my luck, COVID happened. And a lot of lenders stopped lending completely during that time, at least on the secondary loans, which we primarily use for rental real estate, known as DSCR loans, which I'm sure, Charlie,
Right.
you're familiar.
Absolutely.
So now I got these properties, but I couldn't cash out, refinance them, and I was stuck. But if you guys remember COVID, home prices were going through the roof. So
Right.
I couldn't refinance as a rental, but I could still sell them for a pretty profit. So I'm like, all right, so this is the channel I'm going to go. Let's go all in flipping until something changes. And once you
Right.
start seeing the money, it's kind of hard to backpedal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's now what was your first flip like? Did it go perfectly smooth?
My first flip was actually a house that I moved into myself, technically, right? And this is probably the biggest takeaway, or one of the biggest takeaways of this interview, I would say, for everyone who's watching, who has served and has access to the VA loan. I was fortunate enough to buy a house with no money down, and I didn't pay any closing costs because, well, the market was different then. I was able to find a foreclosure property that was in just good enough condition where I can get a VA loan on it.
Yeah.
And I bought it substantially below value. So imagine buying a house with no money down and getting your closing costs paid for super low interest rates.
Yeah.
They just handed you
A house.
net worth right there for it.
Boom. But I had no idea what the hell I was doing, right? I have no construction background, and I was living in an apartment at the time, paying about $890 in rent. And then when I did the math for the mortgage, my mortgage was only like $550. So I was like, why am I renting when I could buy this house? I can work on it, and my mortgage will only be $550, and I'm saving money. And I get to increase the value of the home right off the bat and get a shit ton of equity. It all sounds good on paper, right? So I get the house. I have no money. I had decent credit. So to start the renovations, I just watched a bunch of YouTube videos, and I got excited doing DIY shit. I opened up a credit card, 0% financing for 18 months. And I got like $12,000 from Chase Bank or something. And I put the entire renovation budget as I could on this credit card, and I would pay it off as much as I can. So essentially, I got an 18 months, 0% interest loan is the way I looked at it.
Right.
Yeah.
And clearly, I'm not a contractor. I don't know what I'm doing. So anything that could possibly have gone wrong in that project went wrong. And the first
Right.
story that comes to mind is, like in the South, we have stimpled ceiling
Yeah.
versus popcorn ceiling. There's a big difference between the two. I've come to find out the YouTube videos that I was watching with popcorn ceiling, they show them like spraying it with a sprayer and then just scrapes right off. So I was like, all right, this can't be too bad. I tried doing it, and the shit wouldn't fucking scrape off. And I'm spraying it and just scraping the shit out of it to the point where I'm getting trigger finger doing the ceilings of this house because I want to make them smooth. And I quickly realized it's not popcorn ceiling, it's stimpled ceiling. And I fucked this whole thing up for like 3 weeks, and then I had to smooth it over myself and then sand it.
Oh.
And after all of that was done, Hurricane Matthew hit, and it rained so hard, the roof wasn't in good condition, that the ceiling collapsed. So after a month of working on this thing,
Damn.
All that scraping.
The whole ceiling might be collapsed.
Yeah, it solved itself for you there.
Yeah, man. Like, and the sad reality is, once we put the new drywall up, we ended up putting the simple ceiling back up because it was so much easier.
Damn.
Well, I think the beauty of this in like looking at where you're at now versus back then, it would have been so easy for you during any one of those issues, the roof caving in, you know, the expenses getting way too high. It would be way too easy for you to just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna fucking cut my losses. I'm done with this, like whatever. But I feel like you put in the effort, you solved those problems, and then it led you to where you're at now. So
yeah, I mean,
I think that's pretty badass.
Yeah.
Let's say the bridge between failure and success is really mentality, right? So many people just get so stuck on the problem that that's all they see. All they see is the hurdle in front of them, right? Or they get so fixated on jumping over the hurdle where they completely forget they can just walk around it instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's stuff like that. So, like, once again, I'll repeat it again, that the bridge between failure and success is often mentality. Are you going to push forward? And this is one of the biggest takeaways from my experience in the Army of going through repeated hard shit with other people, that you kind of build that muscle memory that you're able to do hard shit now because you've proven to yourself over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's like been a central theme about the podcast that we, after talking with yourself, other guests, and then between each other, is that like when people get out, it's like you've been through hard stuff because you were in the military, right? A lot of times it's physical or like mental, like being uncomfortable in the cold or the weather, whatever. But then when you get out, it's uncomfortable in a different way that you're not used to. Again, it's up to you. And I think a lot of people, like you're saying, they get so fixated on the problem, they don't realize, they don't see that there's other options. They could just walk around the obstacle, like you said, and they get so fixated that they kind of just get analysis paralysis and they're stuck. But like you said, you got to keep moving forward. You just got to keep your momentum up.
Yeah, yeah. And I think especially in your business, you have no other option.
Right. Yeah.
You're invested in that home. If that, you've got a lot of money on the line for each flip.
Right.
I know you prepare a lot before each flip, and you go into it with a good idea, but you still got to figure out, like, as soon as you close on that home, you're on the hook for it. So,
yeah, like, to piggyback off of that, one thing I always tell like the students and the mentees that I try to teach is you can analyze a property all day long, kind of like what you're saying, analysis paralysis. The more you analyze something, the more stuck you're going to get, guaranteed.
Right.
9 times out of 10. Sometimes you just got to jump out that fucking door or get that boot and figure it out. And kind of like what you're saying as well, like once you purchase the property and pull that trigger, now you are actually invested. Your money is in there. You are tied. Unless you don't give a shit about your hard-earned money, you're going to try a little harder to make sure you don't fail, right?
Right.
Half the battle, I try to get these people to actually buy the property that they're going to flip. Just pull the trigger, just buy it. Don't think about it. Be impulsive. Just buy the damn thing. As long as the numbers make sense, buy it. Because once you're in it, your brain thinks differently. You're no longer thinking, oh shit. I mean, you might, but you're going to try a little bit harder. You're going to get a little bit more creative because you're trying to get to the finish line. It's no longer, what if this, what if that? The best way I can explain it is like, imagine your first airborne jump, right?
Right.
I've been skydiving before that, but this was my first time having my own parachute and, doing the airborne style. I know what the hell I was doing. I was freaking the hell out. And so was everyone around me. It's like literally the entire chalk was anxious little puppies praying and just all these different things. And that anxious energy kind of fucks with you, right? It makes it worse.
Yeah.
So that's rule number 1 right there. Kind of a slight tangent. Wherever you want to be in life, whatever it is that you want to do, whatever skill you want to perform, surround yourself with people that are comfortable doing it without fear. Perfect example. When you're jumping out of a plane, who is the most experienced person on that plane? The jump master, right?
Yep.
That motherfucker is cool as a cucumber. That's who you want to be around because he makes something that is difficult for you because you've never done it, make it look so routine. And that's what you need to surround yourself with, not the anxious energy.
Yeah.
And just like anything else, like once you're out the door, you're not thinking about all the what ifs, right? You're freaking in the vortex trying to figure out, and the muscle memory kicks in. Oh, I got to do the bicycle kicks, and all these different things. You do all your little checklists, check your parachute, check your descent, because you're in it now. You don't have a choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. I like that. So what are some other things from the military that you really see and use on a daily basis to that helped you in your transition and what you do now?
A couple of things. Like in the Army, we really took care of each other. I might not have liked everyone, and not everyone might have liked me, or for that matter, people liking each other, period, in their unit, right? But
Yeah.
I knew that if shit hits the fan, no matter what, someone would have my back, or like the
Right.
team would have my back. And when you leave that Army setting, you quickly realize the civilian world isn't really like that. So I brought that energy into my business and my company. And I think that's why it's been so successful. And the relationships I built, the team that I built, has been built based on an NCO leading a team where we always have each other's backs. You guys are treated like family. If you're in the hospital, your wife's in the hospital, I'll be there. Like whatever you need, we got you. And you build this environment where people feel comfortable. Simon Sinek says it really well in this book he wrote called Leaders Eat Last. He talks about this dynamic about how people in the military feel safe internally, and that is why they're able to face external threats so well. And he nailed it. So when you're creating a safe environment for your team, they will work harder, they are more loyal, and it's a more cohesive unit rather than just a job. It becomes a lifestyle again. So I brought that essence into my company. And as far as technical skills go, the way you communicate in the Army, you know, we always talked about being concise, precision communication.
Yeah.
That's huge. And to be honest, that's one of my pet peeves when I'm talking to civilians is like, they just want to ramble on and on and on about the simple things. And I'm just like, get to the point. What's the work?
Yep. I run into that on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But no, dude, I think, something to touch on there too is like a lot of people get out of the military and they expect like, I'm a veteran. I deserve X, X, and X. And that's not the case. You get out, you might get a thank you for your service, but no one actually is going to give you anything for free.
Yeah.
And I think like for real estate, is a prime example, real estate investing. If you go to any one of those real estate investing meetups, you will meet people that are so fucking smart. They have figured it out. Yourself, prime example. You have figured it out. You have built a successful company. And now you spend your time helping other people. And it's you give people the tools to go out there and do it themselves. But it takes them putting in the effort too. And, I think that is something that you have done very well is build kind of the whole systems for yourself.
Like a little ecosystem too.
Yeah. I saw recently you're running dumpsters now. Like you've got so many different verticals going that you've kind of taken home flipping, and now you've seen the opportunities for having your own contracting company, and you're still, doing all of this, and you've kind of seen the opportunities, and, you're filling those gaps where people need help too.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And, back to the team, half the reason I'm able to do what I'm doing is because I have an amazing family that takes care of everything here. I also have an 8-month-old baby as I'm doing all this stuff and raising a 5-year-old. So,
right.
On top of everything that's going on in the business and work, there's the personal side that's going on too. Everything that's going on inside here, my home life. Luckily, I have an amazing woman that takes care of pretty much just about everything for me and really holds it down for the kids, that enables me to do what I do on the business front. So I'm definitely not doing this alone by any means. But one of the things I want to hit on is like the sense of entitlement you feel as a veteran, right? I didn't really feel that because I stayed here in the Fort Bragg area. I didn't leave Fayetteville. So you don't really feel that if you stay in the military town, because everyone is like, hey, who gives a fuck? You're a veteran. Like, so is everyone else, So you don't really get that feeling anyway, and nor did I really expect it. But one of the things that was hard for me during the transition was kind of like the mindset shift, right? You no longer have that immediate sense of that purpose that you feel. Like you wake up in the morning, you put on your uniform, you go hang out with the guys, and you work out. There's structure, there's a routine in your life. Imagine guys that are doing this for 20 years. I know some guys that never held a job outside the Army. They literally joined when they were 17, and the Army life is literally everything they know. And imagine stepping out of that, going to your employment for the first time, not having any experience in the outside world, how you're supposed to act, how you're supposed to talk, other than how you were treated in the Army and how you acted as you were in the Army or military. For me personally, what I struggled with was the lack of the adrenaline. So like,
Yeah.
we're just wired all the time, week in, week out, through this training exercise, go to this TDY, whatever. You're always in go mode. You're jumping out of planes, you're shooting cool guns, like all these different things. And then you come out, you're completely void of that. And now I'm dealing with realtors who are trying to talk about real estate and all these different things. You lose that excitement, is what I'm trying to say. And you lose that purpose. So like, what do you do to fill that void? And this is where a lot of veterans that I talk to enter depression, a lack of purpose. They have, a lot of them end up getting divorced even because X, Y, and Z. And I think a lot of that is because we are failing our veterans before they even separate. Perfect example for myself, my leaders didn't do a good job preparing me for my ETS. Once they realized I was out, they didn't honestly give two shits. I was kind of just in the way.
Yep.
And I got put on stupid details nobody else wanted to do. I didn't get treated the best on my way out. And
that's unfortunate, man.
Yeah, no one really gives a shit at the end, right? So like right off the bat, here are your boys, your unit, and you're going through this already difficult time, and now they're not giving you the time of day because you're leaving. So like on top of feeling like shit already, now you're even feeling more shitty right before you go out into the real world.
Yep.
Yeah, you kind of get cast to the side. I don't think a lot of people realize that aren't in the military is like, as soon as you notify your unit that you're getting out, they're kind of just like, well, we don't need you anymore.
One of the biggest, for myself, one of the biggest kind of kick in the nuts moments was the first day I was like done with terminal leave and starting work. Was the same day that my old platoon got deployed to HKI to do the evacuation. And so, like, I'm here excited to do work, and then I see all my homies go I got the notification text saying, like, hey, you're deploying right now, but obviously I was out. I was just still on the phone roster, which I think I still am on some phone rosters for the Army. But got that text, and I was like, fuck, like, all the homies are going without me, and, like, it sucks. You do miss that side of it too, and that does not help the psychological side of getting out too. Is when they just push you to the side and are like, well, you're kind of done for us. So
yeah, and for you, when you got out, like, how long did it take you? Are you even at that point where you feel like you're like, I have a well-defined purpose and moving in direct? I'm sure it's not as. Because I feel the same way. Like what you were saying about the adrenaline part is when I got out, the biggest difference I noticed is like my life is kind of like boring in a way. I'm not jumping out of planes anymore. So what did that look like to you, like in detail?
So they actually did a study on this, and I think it's still ongoing, especially guys in special operations. They're talking about how pituitary gland and our adrenal glands get so much overstimulation between, missions, combats, training exercises, and whatever. And it's a hyperstimulation. And once you stop stimulating those glands, that your brain kind of goes a little haywire. And a lot of people have been going through like ketamine therapy to kind of stabilize themselves. I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard of these things.
I actually went through ketamine therapy. Yeah. And it works. So
yeah. So
basically just kind of wanted to have you kind of relate about your immediate after, like once you got out, kind of what it looked like for you to refine that purpose, just to kind of, so people who are listening can relate to that.
So for me, it was going back to my roots of why I joined the Army and where my background is, and kind of finding strength in that again. I was given this amazing opportunity to come to this country and got this far, and I didn't want my story to end there. I was like, what's the next chapter of myself, and how much more can I keep going? There was a little bit of a depression going on through that transition, I'm not going to lie. One of the things that I was fortunate enough to do is that I already had a couple of flips lined up, and they kept me busy enough. That's another learning lesson for anyone who's watching. sometimes whenever you're going through whatever it is you're going through, don't just sit on the couch and sit on your own puddle of sorrow. Get up there and fucking keep yourself busy. Go do some shit. Um,
Right.
Honestly, I was moving so fast and I would kept myself so damn busy, especially the beginning of this business. I didn't have time for depression. It didn't really cross my mind. It's not that I wasn't sad or I didn't miss the guys or I didn't miss the fucking job that I was doing for 8 years, but I just kept moving so fucking fast. I didn't have time to think about my depression. I didn't have time to think about
Right.
how shitty it was or, all these feelings. It's not that I
Yeah.
wasn't feeling them. I just didn't put emphasis on it.
Yeah,
Uh,
dude, that is so true, man. Because like when people get out, like if you don't have like that momentum, you don't keep that momentum going, you're gonna fucking crash and burn. I see that every like all my buddies who didn't have a plan or like at least didn't jump into something when they got out. It was tough. They went through a tough period.
Yeah. And I don't even think that stops necessarily either. Once people,
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like some people know people have gotten out, done well, and then they kind of have a season of their life where things slow down.
Yeah,
And they don't know what the hell to do with themselves.
yeah,
And then it turns into how can I blow up my life the quickest?
right.
So,
yeah, yeah. How can I self-destruct?
Can I be real with you guys though?
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Not everyone watching is gonna, take this very well, but I like to keep it real. The guys who don't have a sense of purpose coming out of the military are the same guys that went into the military with a lack of purpose. Do you guys agree?
100% agree with that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a transitioning thing, right? Some of it is true. There is a little bit of that. I'm not going to lie,
Right.
myself included. But to the point of like, what the hell am I going to do in my life and this X, Y, and Z? The ones that I've seen that are really successful coming out of the military are the ones that have always been successful in the military. They're the
Very
guys
true.
who are signing up for all the special details. They're the ones that are going through all the fancy schools. They're the ones going through the selections. Like they're always trying to get ahead one way or another through hard work and hustle. I very rarely see those guys coming out and be like, fuck my life, what am I going to do? Because they're not
Right.
the kind of guys that have their back against the wall and get stuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's so true. I mean, we talk about this is another big theme of the podcast is like
Yeah.
taking a responsibility and accountability for yourself and what you have going on in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the best squad leaders I ever had in the Army, old Sergeant Hamilton. He was the scariest fucking dude I've ever met in my life. Like 6'5", fucking the most jacked dude ever. Would lose it on a private real quick. But he gave me the best advice I ever got in my life was do not come back to me with a problem until you have tried every single thing you can to solve it. And then if you come to me, great, I will help you, no problem. But if you come to me and I ask if you tried something and you haven't, I'm going to fuck you up. And it was the best thing for me as a young private to hear that. And, it set me on a path to, take ownership and responsibility for everything that
Right.
I'm doing. And, when you just accept responsibility, if you fuck something up, own it. If
Yeah.
you are struggling, don't go looking for someone else to blame. Just own it
Yeah.
and, see where you can go from there.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. I mean, you can take that same concept to business, right? So I've been dealing with the same issue myself where like for a long time, the guys on my team on the business side would just call me for every little problem, right? And as if I'm not busy enough. And it got to a point, it's like, hey, I'm paying you for a job to conduct work on my behalf. It's not really conducive if I'm doing the work anyway every time a problem comes up, right? Because like now I got to spend my mental bandwidth on solving a problem that you should be solving. And once I discovered that little point, I started empowering the team. And this is all fairly recent, believe it or not. I gave them a lot more power to make decisions independent of me and do the exact same thing. Until you try every single solution, don't come with me with problems because I got enough going on, running the company. And that alone gives people a sense of empowerment. It builds confidence. Now you have a more competent team who's able to critically think and solve problems as opposed to the easy button just coming to you to solve it. Because it's like,
Now-
what am I going to do any differently? I'm gonna identify the problem. I'm gonna process it, like what it actually is, and how to solve it. I'm gonna go through the same steps that you're gonna go through. So why not you go through it and you identify the solutions? And if it comes down to it, I'll approve your top 2 solutions. And then we go from there.
I like that. Having them give you like a list of a couple solutions, because I know a lot of people it's tough for them to kind of give up that control.
That's what I was going to touch on, is how hard was it for you to give up that control and that decision making to your team?
Pretty hard, actually. Like I'm the kind of guy that likes to have control of pretty much everything in real time. But you get to a point where you want to start getting your time back and your energy back. And now that I have a baby, full blown family, you no longer have that capability, right? Because let me walk you through a typical day for me. Wake up, doing our little morning routine, getting what's called Zane ready to go to school. He's 5 years old. So getting him dressed, feeding him breakfast, all that stuff, getting ourselves ready, spending a little bit of family time, getting the baby ready, changing diapers, changing clothes, all that good stuff. And then we go out the door and pretty much nonstop work. My phone goes off literally every 5 minutes, all the way until about 6 o'clock. And by that time, I have to go pick up Zane a little bit before that, around 5. And then we start going into family mode. And then there's dinner routines. And then after that, it's going to be bedtime routines. Kids go to bed at 8 o'clock. Pretty much from about 7 a.m. all the way to 8 p.m., I'm in go mode. My phone's going off. Whatever family time I have, it's blurred between answering phone calls, answering emails, and coordinating things, right? And when 8:30 hits is the only time I have to spend time with Alex. And she wants to spend time with me all day. I want to spend time with her all day. And then I have to go into being a good partner to her. At what point, and then a couple hours later is going to be bedtime. At what point during that day do I have any time for myself, for what Navid wants to do? Yeah. I don't even get a break to even stay off my phone all day. So you're in this routine every fucking day for weeks on end, months on end, years on end for me. And then you finally get to a point, it's like, dude, I want to stop being a robot. I need some time for myself, for my own mental clarity, for my own mental health, to even have like a clear thought that's not real estate oriented, that's not problem saturated, which is the other thing. My whole day from morning till night is often problem saturated. When people call me, it's not to be like, hey, Navid, have a good day, buddy. This is going to be a great day. No, it's, hey, we got this problem. This shit's late. We're missing materials. Someone broke in and stole tools. Delayed closing. The seller wants to back out. You name it. All day is problem saturated. So between work life and personal life, and the kids are no better, right? Like there's always, hey, don't do that. Go take a shower. I don't want to. It's problem saturation all fucking day.
Right.
You don't get a break. That's one thing the Army did prepare me for, is being okay and functional in that state. That's a very hard thing to do.
Yeah. How do you manage that? Because I feel like a lot of people, they're thrown in that situation, they're not handling that well. They may be able to do it for a week or maybe 2, but eventually they're going to have a snapping point. What kind of helps you stay present in those moments and not lose your cool?
Well, I want to first off say that I'm definitely not immune to any of that. I'm definitely prone to snap as well, and we all reach that point. But there's a lot of compartmentalization that goes on. I try to keep business life during business time and home life there, but that doesn't mean it doesn't cross over time to time. And so much of my life is business. It's kind of hard to completely separate it. Versus back in the Army or any job, you clock out at 5. Most of your problems stay at work. You don't bring that shit home. For me, I'm on 24/7. I don't think I've had a good, clear day in over 5 years. As far as anytime I go on a family trip or a vacation or whatever, there's always this lingering thought of what's going to go wrong. Like, is the Airbnb going to get their toilet clogged and have to make a plumber call? Like, all these things are going on. But a lot of it is compartmentalization and trying to be present. And for me, recently, it's been the kids. Like, seeing a smile on their face kind of just brings it back to reality. Or sometimes a nice warm hug from Alex, all these different things kind of just helps reset. We try to go on trips a lot to kind of take the mental, load off as much as we can.
Yeah.
Sure.
But, I don't think it's easy, and I wouldn't wish this for everyone. Like, this isn't something you should do. You should do it the right way, build systems, put the right people, and that's kind of what I'm working on right now, empowering the team to be self-sufficient.
Okay. So Yeah, what are your next steps? Like, what are your upcoming goals? It sounds like you have so I guess the dump trunk business is new, the construction business. So, like, what are your next steps?
So everything you mentioned has been kind of in a series of stepping stones that I've kind of been mapping out in my head, nothing formal to get to, a certain point. First I realized that I'm not just a home flipper. That's actually not even a real thing. Like I'm really a residential home remodeler in the construction
Right.
business who does really good in project management, right? And once I realized that, it's like, hey, I'm a contractor without even knowing I'm a contractor. Screw being a home flipper. That's just a slang term, if anything.
You're a contractor that keeps yourself employed.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm in the remodeling construction business. So then I took on a crew. Now I pay them hourly. I significantly reduced my cost. I paid over $500,000 in labor fees last year alone, through contractors and all that stuff. And this year I can reduce that cost by almost half by owning my own crew.
Damn.
And I don't want to be flipping homes for the rest of my life. We're all going to be building the rental portfolio, but the next couple of steps have been to get into the building space of new construction, for building homes, building multifamily homes for my own rentals, that kind of thing. So I engaged with a strategic partnership with one of my really good friends and also a civil affairs veteran. Shout out to Willie Vivas. And because he is a licensed contractor, him and I partnered up, and now Origins Roofing and Contracting LLC is now a licensed company through him being a qualifier. So that was one of the stepping stones. Then also last year, I spent over $50,000 in dump fees and dump rentals alone for my own use. And I was like, this is starting to add up across the company. Let's take this on. So then I started the dumpsters, and I bought 6 of them. I bought the whole thing, F-350, all that crap, outfitting the team. So now I own my own crew on hourly, significantly reducing my costs. Then I got the dumpsters, significantly reducing cost. Now we have the license contracting capability. Now we can pull our own permits and build our own homes. And the other part was the financing part. We used a hard money lender that didn't really want to play ball. And once we got to a certain level of growth, I think they kind of freaked out how much we had. We had over $3-4 million in circulation, and they started getting skittish. So once again, my back was put to a wall. I'm not the kind of guy that's going to back down. I asked them to be flexible. I asked them for exceptions to policy, that we are a good company and we've been reliant and all these different things. They didn't want to play ball. So what did we do? We solved the problem. We went through we found private money instead. And now they want my business back, and they're saying, oh, we can be flexible now. It's too late. We moved on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you can be flexible now.
Yeah.
Now that
So like, to recap it, licensed contractor, capable of building. We have our own dumpsters. We have our own crew and hourly. And now we have a lot of access to private money. So now we are finally in a position where we can absolutely crush the next step. And this is the area that I am still kind of in the strategic planning phase of where the next step is, but it's going to be in the building space.
Okay. But are you looking more to build up building into development, or are you looking build on someone's lot? Like what kind of building are you looking to do?
Starting out, just get the experience. I'll probably get a lot and just build it. Nothing subdivision level or anything like that. Probably something singular or maybe up to a quad is kind of what I'm thinking.
Right.
But before I forget, also in conjunction to this step, now I'm at a point where I want to leverage my experience, and specifically to veterans out there, I want to teach them to do what I'm doing. And especially in the local market here in Fort Bragg, Fayetteville, my mentoring coaching program is just about to kick off. And that's really going to be the next big focus too. So those are the two big steps for me, is getting the business where it needs to be, but also engaging to the coaching and mentoring program and getting that off and going to essentially train the trainer is kind of what I'm thinking.
Where do they find your mentoring and coaching program? Like, is on Instagram, is that the best way to reach you? Do you have a website?
Yeah, it's going to be primarily through my Instagram. It's primarily through word of mouth. Luckily, we're surrounded by veterans here who want to get into the real estate scene. Getting through that network is usually how they find it. And one of the cool things about the program specifically is that very often these coaching programs, you pay all this money to some nationwide guru, whatever, and then you get stuck behind a computer watching online YouTube videos on how to flip a house. Like, what the fuck is that? And there's no guarantee,
Yeah.
there's no promise. You spend like $20,000, you get nothing out of it. With the program that I'm building, it's, I'm not taking on nationwide students. I'm taking on 1 to 5 students at a time as a cohort, and
Oh, nice.
pretty much guiding through them in real time on one of my own projects. And they get to see the entire process. Not only are they getting the education piece, but they're also getting the hands-on piece in real time. And within a
That's
3-month
huge.
period is an action plan that actually gets them into their first home, which, makes it unique to anything else that I've seen.
Yeah,
is fucking
that's huge.
Now,
It's so abstract. So you'll
Yeah.
basically go over your shoulder. Yeah.
yeah, that's-
The promises of the mentorship program is that, it's going to be a 3-month or 3 to 6 month program, ideally 3 months. But it's about what's it worth to you to flip a house, do the thing that you're aspiring to do with absolutely no risk, because once again, you're jumping out of the plane with a jump master who's done this so many times, and it's doing the thing that you're trying to do with fear, and he makes it look so cool, calm, and collective. And what's
That's
that worth? And a lot of people have been like, shoot, if I break even in the first flip, I'll be happy for the experience. It's been overwhelmingly, supportive. But that's essentially what it is. You're flipping a house, this high risk thing, with training wheels, with absolutely no risk of failure, because I won't let you, first of all, identify a property that's going to fail, or, through the renovation process, you get access to my resources, my crew, my pricing. You can't go wrong. That's the real
Yeah,
value.
that's awesome.
I think having a program where you can get into learning directly from someone that's as qualified as yourself. With how many homes have you flipped?
Probably well over 200 right now in the Fayetteville area alone.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, we definitely got the reps in. We're averaging about 40 to 50 a month. Not a month, I'm sorry. 40 to 50 a year on average.
Right.
That's huge. Yeah, you get someone with that kind of experience guiding you through the first one. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think that's an awesome.
Yeah, what makes it
Awesome
even cooler is like
product.
not just the people within the real estate community alone, but also the people that are in real estate, for example, and happen to be veterans. Like, that's a whole different bond.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is. But for me, I tend to trust people in the industry that are veterans, because we do have that bond. I might not have served with you, but we have served. And there's a level of trust and appreciation that goes into that, because I know you're capable of doing at least some kind of hard shit. I don't know if you're
Right.
a good or bad soldier, but I know you went through it. We speak the same culture. That's important to me.
It's so true. Yeah.
Man, and my
Yeah.
FTX in basic training, it rained. It rained one night. So
Yeah.
it was pretty rough. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, get what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, dude. So you've got building, you've got mentorship. Like, what kind of personally, what's next for you?
Personally, I really want to now. I spend so much time developing the business. I wanted to spend some time to develop the family too. But
Yeah.
part of that is, finding time to do that, right? So here I have all these ambitions on one side, all the things that I just listed off that will take time and energy. And at the same time, I want to devote more time for family. And once again, I'm in this position where there's no time for me, right? Individually. My time is between business life and family life. And I kind of want to change that a little bit as well. Find some time to find joy in the things that I used to do personally, like go ride a bike or go hiking or something. But there's just no time. So slowly finding ways to continue building systems, making things more efficient, empowering the team to take on more tasks, and getting my time back more than anything else. I did well. I earned good money. Get a nice boost to my net worth. But now it's like I don't even have time to fucking enjoy what I built, man. That's the crazy part.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I think it's my main takeaway from all this, and like what I hope people listening take away, is how much effort you have put in to building this and how you're positioning yourself, right? So like you going through of, okay, you got the contracting side, you got the dumpster side, you got all the cost saving side, you're building your systems. You have a goal of creating more time for yourself, and you're taking those steps to get there. And it's not going to happen overnight, but you are being proactive enough to know, okay, I'm going to need more time to myself. I'm at a point I want to enjoy this success I've built. How the hell do I get there?
Right.
And, you're looking at it from that problem solving type of way of, okay, let's work it backwards. All right, we need this, this, and this in order, and then this will create this.
It's probably a good time to say this now too. I used to think success was just all about money, right? Because especially for men, you want to provide and be the supportive role. Money is important, right? Don't get me wrong. It's a strong motivator. Those who say money can't buy happiness are full of shit, or because they've never experienced it.
Yeah.
But there's a caveat to that. You get to a point where money doesn't become the center of gravity anymore. Like once you reach a certain point, you have the nice house, you have the nice cars, you got all the things you want, you got the vacations, the trips. You can swipe your card whenever you want, more or less. You're eating good, healthy food. And then it's like, and then what? Anything you make over that is kind of just whatever, Like, yeah, you can keep saving and investing, growing your net worth, all these different things for generational wealth. But for your own individual life, your life doesn't substantially improve past that. And then you reach a point where you're like, fuck, I want to start having fun now. I want to enjoy the fruits of my labor. I want to enjoy my hard work. And I want to get my time back. And it's like the same cyclical thing you see in almost everyone, who's on the climb up. And we spend so much time on this hamster wheel, and not everyone reaches that point of success. So, like, I'm not going to sugarcoat to anyone who's watching. Just because you put in the hard work doesn't automatically mean that you're going to get to any level of success. And that's a shitty thing to say, but it needs to be said. There's so much stuff on YouTube and these influencers talking about you can do whatever the fuck you want if you put your mind to it. That's not always true. Not everyone has the same opportunity. Not everyone has the same luck, but it's all about what you make it and how much you want to push. So all this to say, there's more to life than just money. There is success in, having a happy family that's happy to see you. Not everyone is successful in that department. Or having a family that's going to stick by you no matter what happens. That's success. Or being surrounded with really good friendships that will have your back as well. That's also success. Myself, I'm at a point where I have worked so hard, pushed so hard, I burnt out almost everyone around me, to the point now where I probably have 2 or 3 friends that I can think of right now on my finger that I even have, any kind of non-business communications with, besides my own family. It's lonely as hell. You become very protective of your time, and your circle gets really, really small. So it's all things to think about. It's not just about getting here. It's what do you do when you get here? And the other thing I want to mention too, people know what failure looks like, right? We've all failed. Griffin, Charlie, you guys have all experienced failure, right?
Oh, yeah.
More times than not, I will say.
That's part of life, but failure is something that's commonly understood by most people. What people don't talk about, this is something that I went through post-transition, is how to conduct yourself when you become successful.
Yep.
That's a tough one. And I almost went off the deep end. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Like, I'm not perfect by any means, but luckily I was able to identify that shit and reel myself back in, because, like, here I am, a refugee kid. I've never had nice things in my life. I've never seen money before in my life. And now I'm at a point where I'm getting all the attention that I've never had growing up as a man. And I have the nice cars, the nice house, the amazing family, all these different things. I'm making more money than I could ever need in my life. It kind of fucks with you mentally, right? You go through this little imposter syndrome, which I kind of still have. But the way you conduct yourself, your confidence, the way people view you, the way people think of you, all these things are going to fucking change. And what I've seen with successful people, especially among the veterans, they go off the fucking deep end once they start seeing this kind of money. They don't know how to act.
Right.
They think they get this grandeur God complex, like nothing can get in their way. And they start treating people like shit, like they're better or above at all. You know what I mean?
You
Yeah.
just relate to that more of how easy
Oh, yeah.
going from army pay to that, and I was like, oh, I'm the fucking man. And then, obviously, I'm in the mortgage business. Rates went sky high, and that income quickly shifted, and my mindset did not. So, yeah. I think that's a huge point. So
It's a humbling experience, man, but I see it all the time, and I can identify because I went through it myself. And usually they'll settle down over time. Either that, or they'll just sink themselves down and they'll get humbled that way, and they'll lose it all, and
Right.
they quickly figure that they're not hot shit that they think they are.
Right.
But But that's the lesson there is like no one teaches you how to act when you become successful. Like there's like it's all mentality. You go through a lot of shit that you're not used to, and you have to figure it out in real time. All the while, people are looking at you like, "Oh my God, this dude's so fucking successful." Half the time, they think, for me, like I came from Arab oil money. I'm not even fucking Arab, and know nothing about the oil business. So they think my daddy was rich or entitled, or they can't believe that a 34-year-old got to this point on his own, self-made, because they couldn't do it, right?
Right.
How the fuck did this guy do it? You're dealing with all these dynamics, and where I am in the business now, as one of the top flippers in the area, like I'm constantly being challenged, and like people want to pick fights for no reason, and you have to conduct yourself in a way that you represent your brand, your business, and stay calm. That's a lot harder to do than that I'm making it seem like.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you do a good job. I mean,
Yeah.
I will say from the outside looking in, like everything you put out
Yeah.
is always positive, building people up. And I think that's why I follow you after all these years. Like it's good to see. I think I got humbled very hard, and I will say one of the best things that kind of build on what you were just saying is like every decision there is a right and wrong decision, and exactly what that right and wrong decision is. You just have to be bold enough, or you have to be willing to make that hard but good decision, and it's a lot easier said than done a lot of times. So.
Absolutely. And well, it's not always right or wrong either, right? Sometimes you play by your own rules, and that's where it starts getting dangerous. Like, for example, money has allowed me to solve problems in a way that I would have never thought so. It opens up doors that traditionally are not open. So at that point, right and wrong goes out the window. It's a matter of that's where your moral compass really comes in.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, for sure.
Well, listen, man, we really appreciate your time. Like this has been great. Like I think a lot of people are going to gain inspiration from this. Just seeing you, like your story and everything you've been through. Like it's really cool. It's neat.
Yeah, dude. So let's. Where can people find you on Instagram, or where's the best place to reach you?
Probably on Facebook is kind of where my business thing is, or Instagram, either or. Just look up my name, Navid Attayan, and you can shoot me a message there if you have any questions on real estate or anything transition wise. I'll open myself up to you guys. If you have any questions post transition, anything like that, just let me know.
Sweet. Awesome.
And
thank you.
Do you have any veteran organizations you want to shout out? Including, I guess your own. Like, where can people get more information about getting your mentorship?
Like,
because I think that's huge. Where can they?
So if you can access my Facebook, just DM me from there, and then we'll get going until the website's kind of up and running. But the best way to reach me for any of that stuff is going to be through Facebook for now.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And did you have any?
As far as military organizations, one of the best ones I've ever dealt with is the CARE Coalition.
Okay.
These guys are amazing. They're definitely at Fort Bragg, and I think they're in most U.S. installations as well. And they're specifically for the special operations guys. They'll help you in your transition, anything you need with the VA claims. If you get injured in a combat zone, anything like that, you get injured during your training exercise, these guys will go above and beyond for you in every way possible. So they've been a huge help for me in my transition, and I've been at a different place here if it wasn't for that. So shout out to Kurt from the CARE Coalition. Thank you for taking care of me, and I hope you continue passing that on to everybody else.
That's great.
Awesome, man. All right, man. Anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
That's it, man. Thank you guys so much for having me on here. I enjoyed it. It's probably the first time I've been able to kind of share the story in this kind of way, and I wish you guys the best of luck in your podcast.
Thank
And
you.
if you have anything else, let me know.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're honored to have you,
Yeah,
man.
thank you so much.
All right, take it easy.
Take care, guys.